Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's tech guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They were all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Tech Tuesday guest. Then go and visit these sponsors because you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown for their support. You know, Hometown continues to change the game for athletic directors, for schools, for programs with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, what a shock, but how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction? The list goes on and on. Whether you're an AD, a coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. You're going to find it all at hometown.com. Check them out today. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Scheduling, rosters, results, facilities. Their eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Let's say thanks to Gipper. You know, the team at Gipper is going to turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post, a newsletter, or more, the templates, the logos, the brands, you're going to love it. Go to Gipper.com. Find out all the ways they can help you promote all the great things your program is doing. That's Gipper.com. Let's say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank Beacon Creative Wall of Fame. Vital Signs Wall of Fame has been helping schools tell their legacy for years, but now Beacon Creative takes it to a new level. We always say we want to promote our kids and our programs, but Beacon Creative is a content creation service. You supply the raw data. They're going to create legacy building messages that you can upload to your social media devices. There we go. To find out more, I want you to email John Townsend at John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. That's beaconwalloffame.com. You're going to be glad you did. Let's also say thanks to our good friends at Athletic Surveys. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, how about your parents? You're missing out on some valuable data. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey just for your school that allows you to connect with all of your stakeholders. That's athleticsurveys.com. We also want to thank Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the video and the analytics. Students loved the tapes. Our parents love the streaming, but there's a lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 100 million fans, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And we'd like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to their website, and you can take a look at an interactive video that's going to show you all the great things their products can do. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Tell them you heard about it on the podcast. Check out their products today. Sidelineinteractive.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Tennessee today, and our guest is Liz Marquez. Liz is the founder of a company called helmetfitting.com. really cool company, if you will, with a lot of different services for ADs and coaches. We're going to hear all about that in just a minute. But Liz Marquez, welcome to Tech Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me and getting the opportunity to talk about helmetfitting.com.
Oh, absolutely. As a longtime football coach and then as an AD, I know the importance, the vital importance of making sure helmets are fitted properly. Well, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your bio, where you were born, where you grew up, kind of take us up to the helmetfitting.com moment, and then we're going to hear about that. But what's the Liz Marquez origin story?
Born and raised in Colorado, met my husband Dana, who's the co-founder of helmetfitting.com in high school. From there, we just ended up staying together through thick and thin in athletics. Our journey through athletics has taken us from Colorado to Oregon, Arizona, California. We ended up in Auburn, Alabama for 18 years and recently just got to land in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And through Dana's career he's been in equipment for 30 plus years. So he's had a long, illustrious equipment career. And I was a teacher. So we decided to marry our careers into helmetfitting.com.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Okay, I got to ask a couple questions. I already told you I was born and raised in Oregon. What part of Oregon were you living in when you were there?
We were in Corvallis. We were with the Beavers, Oregon State University.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, even better. My wife's a proud graduate of Oregon State University.
Oh, wonderful.
So go Beavs.
Go Beavs, yeah.
The equipment manager position at a high school or even at a college level, smart coaches, smart ADs know that individual is gold. When you have that person, it just makes so many things run smoother. As you were getting into the equipment end of it, and again, your husband's doing it, and that's great that you found the same passion for. But was there a moment where you just said, "All right, this isn't just football equipment anymore. This is something that I want to do too, that Liz wants to do." Can you put your finger on a moment where that happened?
Well, I've just seen the importance of it. Being an educator and just that whole platform of giving people the power to take safety into their own hands. Just seeing that so many parents were reaching out to Dana about, well, I'm getting ready to start football tomorrow. What do I do for a helmet? I'm like, oh no, it's a little too late. You should have been thinking of this sooner, but at least you're thinking about it now and reaching out to Dana. And I just saw that there was a great opportunity to educate the parents and the coaches on properly fitting equipment, because the equipment technology is incredible and it only works if it fits properly. So and I know that there's a lot of pros and cons that people put out there about playing tackle football, but it's still here. And we know that there's a lot of athletes that absolutely love the sport. And we just want to give them the best opportunity to enjoy it and be as safe as possible.
Liz, that is such an important point to mention, not so much maybe for our listeners, but the idea of, football is not safe. I was an AD for many, many years. I was a teacher, a coach, an AD for 41. I'm still involved, in the profession. And people that know that football statistically is one of the less injurious sporting activities, concussion or otherwise. Any sport has an inherent danger. When kids are running around in soccer, in basketball, everybody knows what's the number one sport for injuries? Cheerleading. any sport carries a risk. So, yeah, we want to make sure those kids are fitted properly. Absolutely. We also want to make sure they're coached properly and they're being taught proper technique on tackling and running and that sort of thing. So, great, great point. Hey, for our listeners, we're joined by the other half of helmetfitting.com, Dana Marquez. Dana, welcome to Tech Tuesday.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Sorry about my tardiness.
Oh, no, absolutely not. We understand how it is in the working world. Um, Liz had a chance to share a little bit about her background, kind of how you guys met and everything, but give us your bio, as I like to say. Give us your life story in 2 minutes. Take us up to let's say, the founding of helmetfitting.com, but what's your origin story?
Yeah, so I started my equipment career at Colorado State University. I was a student manager there under Pete Brickhofer, and my main job was with Urban Meyer back in the day when he was a young Urban Meyer as wide receiver coach. Earl Bruce was our coach at Colorado State at the time, but I kind of got my feel for football back there again. I was a football player in high school and things like that. Had open heart surgery, wasn't able to play any further than that. So got involved in the equipment side of the world in college. Ended up doing that for a couple of years. Ended up being John Elway's warm-up guy with the Denver Broncos. And as a 21-year-old kid playing catch with that guy was pretty amazing. And Sean Moore and those guys, Tommy Maddox. When I got involved there, it kind of got moved back into the equipment world in college. I ended up back going to Colorado State, doing some more stuff with them. And then from there, went to the university, actually Oregon State, I think it was, and with Dennis Erickson and his staff.
Oh, yeah.
Spent time with him, and then left Cal or Oregon State to go to Cal Berkeley with Jeff Tedford's staff. And there I got to spend time with Kyle Bowler, Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, and that group. Then left there, became the promotion manager for Shut Sports on the NFL side. So did a lot of helmet manufacturing and things like that from that structure. From there, got involved in hockey with the Winterhawks and the Grizzlies and the IHL, WHL leagues, and then got back into football at Auburn University, where I became the associate athletic director for 18 years and the head of equipment. So I dealt with a lot of that stuff, that process of contract writing and things like that. And in 2015, I won the Maxwell Award, which is for a lot of people that don't know, it's actually only provided to or presented to the high school, college, and NFL player and coach of the year. So in 2015, I was the first equipment manager ever to win that award. So it was quite an honor for what it was being presented to, is for innovation and safety. And when I met there, Ron Jaworski, 2015, if you go back into your history books, CTE was really coming up in the market, and impact sports were really taking a nosedive. A lot of people were starting to stay away from there. And one thing kind of led to another. I had a lot of relationships with inside the equipment world. I sit on the advisory board of pretty much every one of their companies. It was Rydell, Schutt, Vices, Zenith, X-Tech, Light Helmets, you name it. I reached out to those guys and said, hey, I think it would be a really good idea if we can start a program to help moms, dads, high school coaches around the country to learn how to properly fit equipment that's going to help just not the safety structure of impact sports, but maybe give them an opportunity to play a safer way in this space. So I guess 2015, 2016, we started the company, and it's kind of grown from there. I don't know if Liz brought up the legislation part that she wrote, the Coaches Safety Act. So in the state of California, they have to take a test, which is part of our protocol for youth sports. So our kids are actually playing in a safe way. And I mean, that's my 2 minute career, which is really long. And now I'm the general manager and associate athletic director at Middle Tennessee State University. So I'm dealing with the new chaos of NIL and that structure as well.
So we're getting a double bonus here, maybe a triple bonus. We've got the CEO of the company, we've got your background in equipment and safety, and we have an athletic director. So that might be a first on our program. Liz, let's go and jump over to you for a second. Dana mentioned the legislation that you helped write. It's a shame that we have to have laws, that we just can't do this right thing because it's the right thing. But talk a little bit about that process and the implementation of it, and maybe the effects that you've seen since it became law.
Well, we had the opportunity to get on board with Coach Safety, and they approached helmet fitting to help with what we thought needed to be included on equipment. And of course, we're like, well, it needs to fit properly. You need to make sure it's in the right condition. You can't be wearing an old and outdated, cracked, or things that just shouldn't be out on the field. And in the state of Alabama, all the youth sports that are played on public fields have to go through their Coach Safety program, and they let us be a part of that. I wrote the fitting guidelines for all the youth sports that are played on public fields. And so that's also included on helmetfitting.com under resources. We have fitting guidelines for all the sports, and that's linked through the legislation. And then going into California, they've really embraced the concept. And I don't know how many listeners are aware that California was trying to ban tackle football for youth. And we got to sit in on that and be a part of letting them know that our program was there to help keep the kids safe for the families that didn't want tackle football to go away.
Yeah, again, it's seems like a never ending challenge for football coaches and athletic directors, fans of football, that we're defending the sport. Obviously, it's so much safer than it was, let's say, 100 years ago when I was playing. I went to high school and college back in the entirety of the 70s, and I can remember, some of the equipment that we were wearing at the time. It's changed, and again, the teaching and the fitting. I can still, like it was yesterday, my freshman football coach in high school, and they were well-meaning, but my helmet was literally wobbling, from side to side. Oh, you got to tighten that chin strap, Jake. And that was the only adjustment that was available on an oversized helmet for a ninth grader. Dana, let's jump back to you. In the past, well, I'm not going to limit it. Okay, in the past few years, what have you seen as, I'm going to put you on the spot, and you might say, well, I can't answer that. What's the single biggest safety innovation, equipment-wise, that you've seen in, let's say, helmet technology? Is that a fair question?
Sure. I think there's a couple of them, right? I think the helmet manufacturers, starting back in 2015, really started to adapt this 3D mapping, digital imaging technology, right? They also looked at when Visus came out with the 01, and looking at new materials that could actually help, right? So understanding back when you played, like you said, in the 70s, I played in the 80s, right? You guys had the blue dot, the green dot, and the red dot, and all those things, right? Well, now it's really trying to figure out air helmets, because this was a big problem. It still is in today's market, especially at the high school market, is understanding what air does when it's cold, what happens to air when it gets hot, right? So now we're back to where we originally were back in the 70s, where foam technology has taken over in the helmet technology, right? It's this memory foam where it's high impact intensity foam that are going into these helmets. The difference is now every helmet is 3D mapped or digitally imaged specifically for that head, right? So those are the biggest technologies. Now, not every school can afford them, which is where the high school market kind of gets left out. When it comes to shoulder pad technology, obviously that's changing as well, because of the foam technology has completely shifted how we're cutting shoulder pads for specific positions and specific players. Shoe technology, right, has definitely changed with dual plate technology, movable cleats. So a lot of that in the last 10 years has been kind of crazy, right? I think there's a lot of modalities out there that you've seen the Guardian cap, you've seen Q collar, you've seen all these different modalities trying to help out with the reduction of concussions or those types of things. So I think from a technology structure standpoint, everything has really changed from about 15 years ago to where we're at today. So a great example, I met with a high school, believe it or not, I met with a high school, and that's why I'm late. So I met with a high school coach today, and they're redoing their high school. And we were talking about high schools today can't really afford to play football because of the cost of the equipment's getting so high and the technology is changing. So how do you help them and educate them how to talk to vendors and manufacturers? How do we help these organizations get better equipment, do those types of things? And I think that's kind of where I'm landing from an equipment manager standpoint and where I'm landing from a business owner with helmetfitting.com. But definitely 3D mapping and digital imaging via phone or iPad technology is definitely the big drive of what you're seeing in today's market.
Yeah, the cost is just again we joke, I think, in the athletic director world of we got a $5 million grant so we can buy 10 football helmets, that sort of thing. Dana, you mentioned the Q collar, and I know that's on your website. It's one of the products that you make available. Liz, I don't know what a Q collar is. I've been out of football for a couple of years. Can you share with our listeners and me what the Q collar is and why it's important?
Absolutely. The Q collar is just that. It's a collar that sits on the neck and it applies slight pressure to the jugular veins. And what that does is it keeps just a small amount of extra blood in the brain to minimize the brain slosh, to keep your brain from moving around on impact. So they've done lots and lots of medical research, and they have white papers to show the effects of it. And they've joined helmetfitting.com as part of our safety fitting and the protocol of helping to keep athletes safe.
Okay, geez, very cool. Now, this is for both of you. I already mentioned, I played high school in the early '70s, college in the late '70s, but I was a quarterback and a receiver, so I never wore that old school, neck roll or the horse collar. Sometimes they called it. I'm guessing the Q collar is a little more technologically advanced than those devices, but was the thinking, the effect similar?
It's not. So the Q collar is more of a device for the brain, and kind of what you're talking about, the old pad around the neck and the neck braces and things like that. That's more of a device that helps the stinger or shoulder pad or the
Right.
shoulder injury than
Mhm.
it does the head. But this device was kind of it really started with military, right? SEAL Team 6, a lot of military background, things like that from um, they're more injury bases on sound and explosion and reverb, right? So not necessarily impact. So what we were trying to find out is kind of what's best in the best worlds where we can wear a device for practice and for game. And that's really kind of where Q collar really fits into this is where now we can just utilize it not just for a game day modality, we can also use it for a practice modality as well. So I think college players, NFL players, you're starting to see a little bit more adaptability to the NFL. Sauce Gardner, who was with the Jets, wears one, things like that. So you're starting to see this adoption to this new technology. It goes back to your question earlier, what's going on in the last 10 years? This is what's going on in the last 10 years. They're really trying to find ways that kids at the youth, high school, college markets can play at a high level of performance with a reduced impact load. So,
Well, and to add to that, it's something that can be worn for all sports. One of the neurologists who helped develop it wears it when he's driving in case of a car collision, and to help avoid any type of concussion caused by that.
Okay. Yeah, just so many factors involved. Really appreciate you both sharing today. It's really cool stuff. Let's go ahead and jump in. Let's take that deep dive on helmetfitting.com. I've been on the website, some very cool services and some products, including that Q collar. But I'm going to phrase it like this. Why should our listeners, who are athletic directors and coaches, and listeners, you should, but why should our listeners go to helmetfitting.com?
Well, Jake, like you've been mentioning, the teaching proper technique and my background in education, it's just empowering people to know what they're getting into and to make it as safe as possible. We have a unique relationship because of Dana's career in the equipment world with the manufacturers. So they are in constant communication with us on updating their fitting protocols. We have actually worked with them when we started helmet fitting to get their written and video content all to coordinate and match up. So the consumers are getting the same fitting guidelines no matter where they're looking for that information, whether it's on the YouTube videos, on helmetfitting.com, wherever. What do you want to add, Dana?
I think there's other things that need to go in there. I think it gives an opportunity for the high school coach, the moms, the dads, because things that people don't realize when you're going to go buy a helmet, and let's say you're going to a big sporting goods store, right? And there's a helmet there, and you're going to go buy a helmet for your son, and you're thinking you got to buy the most expensive helmet because that's the best, right? And then you're going to go buy it from a 17-year-old kid that's working at said store that doesn't really know about the helmet. So, I think helmetfitting.com prepares you in a couple of different ways, not just from a coaching standpoint and an administrative standpoint, but from a parent standpoint of, hey, if you're going to go to a sporting goods store to buy a helmet for your son or your daughter, understand how it's supposed to fit, understand what the manufacturer guidelines are actually asking you to do when you purchase a helmet. You're one step further to helping your son or your daughter enjoy that sport at a very high level. So I think that's what really helmetfitting.com was meant to do, was to make sure that these youth athletes, these high school athletes, even college and professional athletes that have used helmetfitting.com play the sport that they want to play, but play it at a very high level in a safe manner.
As you have, grown in the business, you're still, an athletic director, you're still working at a college. As you've gone out into, let's say, the local high school, and as you mentioned, the mom and pop world, what are some of the questions that you get from parents? And I'm going to add this on. I think much more so than in previous years, we have fewer and fewer parents who actually played high school sports, let alone tackle football. Whereas, when I was in high school 100 years ago, I think most of the dads, came up, playing the game. What are some questions that you get that, maybe catch you off guard a little bit?
Today, great example. I have a player that's a 2XL helmet. That's always a good one. I think it happens to me every year since I've been doing this, right? It's just not knowing how a helmet is supposed to properly fit and how you actually properly put on a helmet. The other one is I need smaller shoulder pads, and shoulder pad fitting is very unique depending on what manufacturer you're using, right? So if you're looking for AC to AC joint measurements, or are you looking for tip to tip shoulder measurements? And small for the world of athletics does not mean size, it means thickness. So I may need a shoulder pad that's thinner to help his mobility and not necessarily smaller. So if I shrink it, if I go from a medium to a small, I'm shrinking the width of the shoulder pad, which now opens up his AC joint and his outer shoulder for more injury. And then it also shortens up the area where his sternum is showing. So now I've exposed his sternum. So those are the questions that I get from high school coaches. From parents of the youth level, I get, what's the best helmet on the market? What's the most expensive? And it's really, the answer is simple. And I've used this for my entire career. It's the helmet that fits your athlete the best. Take the brand name off of it. Take the brand name off of it. If it does, take the price tag off of it. It's the helmet that fits your athlete the best. And if you go in that manner, your son or your daughter will play at a pretty high level.
Right.
And I have something to add to that. We recently had a school system reach out about using helmetfitting.com, and I gave them their code to go in and check things out. And they came back with the comment that, well, we only use one of those manufacturers, which in this day and age, we understand that that's something that schools have to do to help with the bottom line. However, if you do have an athlete that doesn't fit in that helmet very well, you're still going to need to have the knowledge of how the other helmets fit and function in order to protect your athletes to the best of your ability.
Yeah. And again, that's another great point on that same line. I was never a big fan of our coaches mandating, we had a team shoe for basketball, Nike, Adidas, because people's feet, fit in different shoes. My daughter was outstanding basketball player. The Nikes didn't fit her that well. And so, head maybe a little bit more important than the feet.
You would think so, but think about when you played. I'm sorry to jump in on this one.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But you have to remember back in the 70s and the 80s, a shoulder pad cost $300 and a helmet only cost $89. So what was more important back then? Was it your shoulders or your head?
Well,
it didn't become the head until CTE came around in 2010, 11, and 12, where those actually flip-flopped. And the helmet technology actually went crazy. And now the helmet's $1,500 and the shoulder pads are still $300. So kind of crazy.
And again, I was going to say this on the small shoulder pads. As a career receiver, hey, we had to have those small shoulder pads so we could get our arms up, and we just had to. Okay.
Yeah, made you faster too.
Oh yeah. Well, boy, if I could have wore the pants that the guys wear now, my 40 time would have been off the charts, I think. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, Jake, I think it's important for your listeners, everybody out there, what helmetfitting.com was really structured to do was to help everybody. It just wasn't, I mean, I know we focus a lot on youth and high school because of the marketplace where it's at, but helmetfitting.com also helps the NFL equipment managers take CEU exams, the college market takes CEU exams. So I mean, if you're wanting to know what the highest level of equipment managers are doing and how they're protecting their high-end level athletes, helmetfitting.com does that. I think the other thing a lot of people miss about helmetfitting.com, we're just not a football-based structure. So like Liz said earlier, we do, and Liz has done a phenomenal job of gathering all this information, of making sure that we have fitting guidelines for cheerleading, for soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, all of them. Right. So that's also in our resource page. So for all those listeners that want to know more about just helmetfitting.com, there's a lot more content there than just football. So I highly recommend taking a look at that and seeing what other services are provided from helmetfitting.com.
No, absolutely. Again, when I first went to the website, I was really impressed with the amount of information and resources that were there. Liz, anything to add before we jump to the question of how can our listeners find out more?
I really don't have anything to add to that. Dana summed it up beautifully, and I can't thank you enough for letting us share our story today.
Well, let's go ahead and share with our listeners then. How can they find out more information? How can they get involved and take advantage of all the great resources at helmetfitting.com?
Well, the website is just that, helmetfitting.com, all one word, helmetfitting.com. And we have all the fitting guidelines there. And if you have any further questions, you can message us through our website, or I'm available at liz@helmetfitting.com.
You can also find us on X, I know we're also on Instagram as well. So you can also look at our handles there. But and I have a simple email as well, dana.helmetfitting.com. So you can reach out there as well. You can also follow me on Instagram as well, because I'm kind of everywhere. I kind of post a lot of different things from the college to the NFL market, and kind of what's going on in today's equipment world. So.
All right. Well, again, for both of you, Liz and Dana, thanks so much for coming on today and sharing with our listeners. Thanks for everything you're doing in this space to inform and educate and, make the great sport of football and other sports, safer for the participants. And, all the best moving forward.
Well, Jake, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
For listeners, we want to say thanks to you. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Tech Tuesday just about every week. Just about every day, we try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, we certainly want to thank all of our great sponsors. Let's go and start with Beacon Creative Wall of Fame. They used to be Vital Signs Wall of Fame, but now Beacon Creative Wall of Fame. Check them out. The services that they're now providing to go along with their video boards, great stuff. Let's say thanks to Gipper.com. Go to Gipper.com. Let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Home Campus Scheduling, rosters, results, you name it. Home Campus does it. Go to homecampus.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Check out Ohio University. Hometown, they're a game changer for ticketing, for website construction, for fundraising. Check out hometown.com. Huddle, as a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. And Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a survey so you can take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.